Okay, so sword and buckler, but for the modern era. This is my, I guess I'm calling this a jungle rig now, because it's a machete, but you could use this in a lot of places. My idea is basically that you have this, on your pack probably, right? And that's why it's on a rope. I'm using that like a baldric, which is a hanger for swords that you put around your body. And it's got a two opposing slip knots here. And they just tie up against each other and they pull tight. And I have the sheath for the buck knife and the sheath for the machete on there. And then the buckler has rope that just hangs over the handle. So you could tie this onto a pack, you could carry it by the baldric, you could do a lot of shit. In fact, you can also put this around you as a belt and tighten it down. I'll show you. Sorry, you guys went dark there for a second. But you can pull the knots apart and tighten the belt. I think that's pretty sweet. So if you did want to have this as a belt instead of a hanger, you got that. One second. We didn't properly think this one through. I needed the fucking, what's that called? Tripod. For the sword, I like the Cold Steel Gladius machete. It does everything I need a machete to. I've been playing around with it in the backyard and just chopping stuff with it. And it's actually pretty effective for a machete. And you get two edges instead of one. So I think that's always better. And the reason we want a two-edged sword is basically in close quarters or whatever, you want a melee weapon that people can't grab from you. And when you grab this here, you don't have a hand anymore long after that. Like, these are curved. I wouldn't want to have my hand a hold of that while I yank it out. That's going to be real bad. Okay. The short sword is more useful in a modern context because it's easier to carry and you can use it indoors. And in a modern, like, fighting in a city or whatever, you might be in and around a lot of houses. So this is something to consider. And just like, how likely are you to use a sword? Not very. How likely are you to need a machete to clear a limb or something like that? Much, much higher. Okay, so we're kind of carrying a tool that is for one job that can do another job. This thing is 100% about using this as a sword. It kind of can give you some non-lethal options too. This is a very small shield that works because when you hold it at arm's length, you see how it gets bigger as it gets closer to you? The more I shove this in your face, the more this is all you can see. And you have to do something about this when I do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to punch you in the face with this, and it's a pretty, like, hard plastic thing, right? Like, it's no joke. I would not want to get hit with that. But you have this in your other hand. And whenever they go to deal with that thing, you can just hack and chop and stab them all you want. Okay, now the fight can go on more than that, and there's a whole bunch of videos you can watch on YouTube about sword and buckler that will directly apply to anything that you do with these. So there's an entire martial art already built around these tools. Not this in particular. This is more on here for a utility knife because, yeah, I want to have something with this that is a backup, and I think this is a good place to keep that. I camoed the sheath with 100-mile-an-hour tape that you could take off and use for something if you wanted to, assuming that it doesn't get old and crusty in between now and whenever you try to use that. But I like camoing my shit again because for this thing, this is the Wheel of Pain from Conan the Barbarian. It's also like a Buddhist ship's wheel kind of thing. It means a lot of different shit to me. I like it. And on the sword, same as on the knife. When you camo a sword blade like this, I'm of the opinion that in a low light environment, or just in general in like a jungle or forest environment with these colors, it's a lot harder to tell what I'm holding. And I think that's an advantage. Especially if I can look unarmed or whatever if someone's like, you know, a couple hundred yards away. They don't have binoculars and shit like that. Like, I could see advantages in this. The handle on this Cold Steel Gladius machete is perfection. They got a lot right with the Gladius. It needs grip tape. This is vet tape from a veterinary supply store. It's the same thing as Coban if you go to a medical supply store, but the vet tape is cheaper and comes in 4-inch rolls instead of 2-inch rolls. So I would go to the vet supply store. You can get that in different colors and shit. The only one I use anymore is black. I've used green before, but the green is kind of a weird green. The thing I like about this is that it's based on an existing martial art. It's something that is proven throughout history. This was like the go-to self-defense thing in Europe for a really long time. Basically, gunpowder was what killed this. And I'm not saying like, oh, you should just be a sword dude or whatever, but I'm saying that you should have different tools in your toolbox. And a machete is something worth carrying. A machete that doubles as a sword and comes with its own little, you know, self-defense shield with it, this, which weighs almost nothing really, like this is a couple pounds. That would be the only argument against that, is that it's, you know, it's adding weight to your pack or whatever maybe. But like, I kind of figure that this is for, you know, we're at an off-grid cabin, we're, you know, in a fucking van camping on our own land, that kind of shit. Like, I want something like this. This is my like backup plan in essence. And I'm gonna buy a few more swords that are better quality, but honestly, I've been really impressed with this. I think as a weapon, this Gladius machete is actually a legit, probably better weapon than most swords. It's lighter, it's faster. I don't know if maybe a full-size sword is going to deliver more kinetic damage and deeper cuts, and maybe those advantages would balance out or whatever. Because I will say that the swords that I've made, they did cut better than this, but they were also like a 1/4-inch bar of 5160. So, you know, that's gonna be that. You know, what are you really trying to chop through though? Are you trying to take people's arms off, or are you just trying to discourage? And to me, this is mostly about discouraging and stabbing. I'm going to do other videos on other weapons and maybe even more on this pair. I think this is actually a pretty cool setup. I'm hoping to get some trainers and stuff made and have some shields and stuff this summer whenever my nephew Jackson is up here to hang out, and we're gonna, you know, stick fight in the yard or some shit like that for a while probably. I was gonna give him his own shield and like training sword or something like that. I figured he would like that. It's the sort of shit that I would have liked when I was his age, and like, I don't know. I'm hoping he's into this sort of shit. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that kid if he's not into weapons at all, but like, he already kind of seems to be. He was all into asking me about my survival kit last time we hung out, because he knew I had a bag at my mom's house that was something he couldn't look in, that had like an AR-15, a chest rig, and mags, and like a medical kit, and all that sort of shit in it. And he was just like, "Can I see in your survival kit?" It's like, sure. And he was like all nerding out about all of it, and even like the wilderness survival stuff. So I figured we'd start with that. You know, start with wilderness survival and melee weapons, and, you know, see where we go from there. I doubt he's going to be shooting anytime soon, because he's not mine, and people are prudes, and yeah. I don't know, I'm sad about that, but maybe I can make that happen too. Tell me what you think. Would this be effective? I like it. It's very me. Most people probably don't want a medieval or Renaissance era self-defense weapon, but I think this is like the perfect fusion of like 21st century and like the 1400s. It's kind of badass. Thanks for watching.